Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should all congratulate the Rotary Club of Colombo for inaugurating this association. Mrs. Lavala gave me a good idea. Why not inaugurate Anti-Narcotics Association? Only difference is you won't be able to rehabilitate the victims of terrorism because they are no longer with us. In your case, you have Sumitrio, you have the organization in Athanagalla, many more are necessary, and your association can help the state and the other organizations in seeking to rehabilitate the unfortunate victims of narcotics. You have shown in the small film that you presented to us the birth of a human being, how he or she becomes a victim of narcotics, how it's possible to trace the origin of narcotics, prevent its use, and deal with those who we can call offenders. This is not a burden that we in Sri Lanka alone bear. It has no boundaries to its propagation. Race is not considered, religion is forgotten, and forms of government are of no consequence. Whether it's a military dictatorship, whether it's a democracy, whether it's some other form of tribal rule, narcotics finds its way and captures its victim. 10 years ago, or less than 10 years ago, according to the pamphlets you provided me for reading, narcotics were not used in this country. Ganja was prevalent, but ganja, they say, is not a narcotic. Alcohol was available, so was smoking. But what you now call narcotics in the widest sense was not used in this country. At least nobody was charged for its use. But within these 10 years, 8 years, the users number almost 50,000, at least. There are almost 4,000 to 5,000 cases filed in court. There are many more that do not come. So it's becoming a menace in this country. We have started not too late to try and minimize its use. You have heard so many interesting and useful comments. There's very little I can add, but I can assure you of our wholehearted support to any movement to minimize the use of narcotics and, if possible, to prevent its use altogether in this country. There are many ways in which that can be done, as you have pointed out. One, of course, is by the imposition of laws against its production, its sale, and its use. We've imposed the heaviest penalty. Death is one. Imprisonment for a long period of time is another. But according to what I have heard, the real culprits are not caught. It's a small user who is brought to court. I don't know how one can prevent that. It's the same all over the world. The biggest producer, the biggest distributor is never caught, or rarely caught. How we can prevent it in this small country, I do not know. Those who become addicts to it are real problem cases. That's why we, in a small way, have started the organizations I mentioned to seek to rehabilitate victims. That you can rehabilitate a narcotic addict is also something to be happy about. That is not gone forever. That there are ways in which they can be made to give up this dreadful habit. And the more we can popularize these associations, these places where rehabilitation takes place, I think we all should help. The state certainly should help, but it's a question of money that concerns the state, because there are so many demands on the use of state money in fields equally important that we find it difficult to give you all that you certainly need for your work. The importation into Sri Lanka is easier to control because we are an island. It must come by sea or by land, by air. In both, if the protection is adequate, I think we can to a large extent stop it. But as you know, there are ways in which people can evade the customs laws, the customs officials, and bring these deadly narcotics to Sri Lanka. But I think we should, with the help of your associations, step up the importation of drugs illegally into this country. You must begin your propaganda in schools, as I've heard from your leaders, because at a very young age, children are apt to buy things at the door on their way to school, not knowing the evil effect that the consumption of those drugs can have. I understand there's some problem about your lecturers going into schools. I think we should solve that. Permit them to lecture to school children, or let the school curricula itself contain the lectures that you intend to deliver, so that from the youngest day, children will know that the use of narcotics is to be avoided. The small filmlet that you showed us will be useful in schools throughout the island. So there are ways in which we are reaching out as far as we can stretch out our hands to the people in our country who unfortunately are affected or touched by narcotics and its illegal and wrong use. And your association is helping. And for that help, you have my very earnest and sincere thanks. I hope in the future, the state and you and others who are interested in abolishing from this country if possible, or certainly minimizing the use of narcotics, we can all get together to give our own contribution to the welfare of our people is my most earnest wish. Thank you.